Hey, welcome to A Mind for Fitness. I'm your host, Ian Carlin. I'm so glad you could make it today, where we talk about the issues that matter regarding health and fitness and reaching your weight loss goals, and also regarding your mental capacity, your mental fortitude to push you along to reach those weight loss goals. And once you've reached them, we want to see you maintain those weight loss goals. So we don't want to see you falling back in any old habits. So thank you for joining me here on the program today. We're going to be talking about your body type and what is the best workout and diet program for you to maximize your potential. To maximize your health and sculpting yourself to be the best representative of yourself that you can be. So I guess that's a kind of an awkward way to put it. Now I know I've talked a little bit about this in the past, kind of in passing on on some episodes, but I thought it would be a good idea to kind of go into it and really dive deep into the different types of body types that there are, and what makes each one of them tick, and what's a good diet plan for each one of these, and just get a little bit more specific about it, because I do think it's a factor. I do think it matters, and I do think that if you recognize it, and you utilize techniques correctly around your body type, it can speed up your success. Okay, so that's super important to get to your goals and to get to them, as quickly as healthfully as possible to get to those goals. So that's why I'm talking about this today. But before we get into the program, let me just remind you that I've written an ebook on intermittent fasting called Fasting to Break Your Plateau, a basic guide to intermittent fasting, and it's on Kindle. It's over on Amazon. It's free if you are an Amazon Prime member, and if you're not an Amazon Prime member, it's only $2.99. Let me encourage you to get that. I think it's useful, and it helps us also with the program here. It's really the only way we have to support the show. So please head on over and get the book. Intermittent fasting has been a big part of my weight loss journey, from 300 pounds down to 203 is my lowest. I got down to about 227. I was there for a long time, and then I started gaining weight again, and I got up to 240, and that's when I was introduced to intermittent fasting, and so I went from 240 down to ultimately 203. um and the intermittent fasting was a big part of my weight loss when it came to that. So in the book, I talk exactly about what I did and the different types of intermittent fasting plans that are out there, and what might be best for you, how to evaluate what would be best for you, and the pros and cons of each intermittent fasting system. So if you're interested in that, please go over to Amazon and pick it up. And at this point, it's not yet available as a book. I am going to be adding this as an appendix to my big book that's going to be coming out on weight loss. Now, the big book on weight loss I started a long time ago, and the reason why it's not out yet is it's just been through too many changes. As I kind of grew and developed, the book kind of grew and developed, and it kind of changed from one book into another book, and I put it on the shelf for a long time. But the good news is that it's about 85% done, and I'm going to include that book, intermittent fasting, on my intermittent fasting as an appendix, so that you can actually have a handheld copy of it, because I know some people like that. I mean, I know I like it. I like ebooks as well, but I still really enjoy just being able to pick up a book and read it. That's actually my preferred method for when I read. It's not necessarily reading an ebook, but everybody's different. So I want to make it available for that. But this is taking a while for me to get this book done. Like I said, it's about 85-95% done at this point. It's just trying to hammer some of my own thoughts out. So bear with me on that. It's coming along. I'm reworking on it again. And it's going to be called Overcoming Obesity. And it's kind of like an A to Z kind of thing, where it goes through the mental fortitude to, what actually makes us fat, to um, diet mistakes, to an exercise kind of a summary and program. Um, so that's what's going to be happening with that. So when that book comes out, the and for all those people who want an actual book copy of it, it will be in there. But don't wait until then. Please go over to Amazon. I mean, if you're, like I said, if you're a Prime member, it's free, so there's no excuse not to get it. It helps us out, and it's going to help you out, because I know it's going to help you out, because I've seen it work in my life. I've seen it work in the lives of my customers. So with that little quick commercial, let's go ahead and go to our topic for today. First off, I just kind of want to break down the 3 different types of body types that there are, and talk about what's the best workout, what's the best diet plan for each one. But before we get into what's the best diet plan, what's the best workout for each one, let's break them down. Okay. So basically, there are 3 types of bodies. And you might not necessarily fit into each one of these, like you might be somewhere in the middle between one or the other. But for the most part, for the majority of people out there, you will find yourself fitting into one of these 3 body types. And the 3 body types, and they're the same for men and women, are ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. Those are your 3 main body types. Okay. So what are they? Well, an ectomorph is basically what you would consider to be a beanpole. They're the people who are naturally skinny. Now, they don't put on fat well, but they also don't put on muscle well. And if an ectomorph just sat around and didn't do anything, they would be very thin looking. And they would gain weight unfortunately, kind of oddly. Now, these are people who don't gain weight that much, but when they do gain weight, it's not evenly distributed around their body. They seem to gain it almost in one lump, like right around their stomach. So it's not evenly distributed. It's almost like this beanpole with a little lump on the front of it. And if you're one of those people out there, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not one of those people. But I've seen this enough, and I've had enough experience that I understand the frustration of this body type. Now, in one sense, it's good, because again, they don't put on fat that easy. They really have to damage their metabolism in order to put on fat. But these are the people who, like, I don't, I just eat chocolate cake and I never get fat. But eventually that kind of catches up with them, and they end up gaining fat, and they gain it all in this one really odd place. And that's really almost always right around their stomach. They might gain like a little bit around their butt and a little bit around their thighs. I've seen that happen, but for the most part, it's like right on their stomach, both for men and women. Now the next body type is the mesomorph. This is kind of the hardest to define, because a mesomorph can look like an ectomorph and they can look like an endomorph depending upon what they've done. But these are the people who are kind of naturally fit for the most part. They have an easy time putting on muscle, and they have a hard time putting on fat. Now, they can put on fat, and unfortunately, once their metabolism has broken down and they've created insulinemia, they can actually have an easy time putting on fat. But for the most part, these are the people who put on muscle real easily, and they put on fat kind of slowly. But when they get overweight, they can get fat off of them fairly quickly. So that's good for them, and they can build muscle, and their muscle seems to be more of a chiseled type of muscle. They get very defined in their muscles. But when they get overweight, they can kind of sometimes be mistaken for endomorphs, but they're not. So, for example, Janet Jackson's a really good representation of this type. She is a mesomorph body type, but when she is overweight, and we've seen her fluctuate, she looks like an endomorph, but she's not. She's a mesomorph. And you can tell that when she's in shape. She's got very like very thin waist, and generally good looking. Now, for guys, a mesomorph is a very what am I looking for? That triangle shape. They get that real easily. Very broad in the shoulders on top. At least the ratio is broad to a narrower waist. And again, they put on muscle real easy, and the muscle they do put on looks pretty defined. So they look pretty good. These people are the people who actually look pretty good when they are in shape, and it takes them a long time to get out of shape. And when they do get out of shape and they get fat, they tend to store fat fairly evenly across their body. There might be some extra fat around their midsection, but they do store it like evenly over their body. So that's pretty good deal for them. So then the last body type is the endomorph, and I'm an endomorph. Okay, so I know about this one the most because this is the one that I've struggled with the most. And these are the people who are very round when they're out of shape and very square when they're in shape. So I like to think of Shrek. I think Shrek is a great example of this. So if you watch the movie Shrek, and I'm not like a huge Shrek fan, so if I screw this up, please forgive me. But basically, he's the big green guy, and he's got a big green head and a big green body, and it's very round. And these people tend to gain weight kind of like in this round, circular kind of way. But then he becomes the good-looking prince. I don't know if somebody casts a spell on him or something like that, but he becomes the prince. And when he becomes the prince, he's still very square looking. Okay, his jaw is very chiseled, and even though it's not like completely square around his body, the angle of that triangle is very limited. It's very small. It's not like a very steep triangle from his shoulders to his waist. It's a very limited triangle from his shoulders to his waist. And that's what these people are like. Now, these people have an easy time putting on muscle, but they also have an easy time putting on fat, and they have a hard time losing fat. Okay, if you're an endomorph, you have the worst time getting rid of fat. And unfortunately, when you put on muscle, unless you do it the right way, you can kind of look bulky rather than defined. Okay, so now there are some tricks you can do to look defined. So for example, right now, I'm looking at myself on this video. If you're watching it by video, my muscles are fairly defined at this point, and I'm an endomorph. And you can see I got a cut in my chest and stuff like that, and a cut in my arms. But it's almost just like barely cut too. It's almost like if it's not like really super deep cut. It's like barely cut. Okay, so you can get cut, but you can also get kind of swole, that swole look, if you don't do it quite right. So we'll talk about some of the tricks that I've used to make myself look a little bit more cut rather than just look bulky. Okay, so we can bulk up real easily, though. We can put on muscle real easily, but a lot of times it's undefined muscle. It's just big and not very cut. So that's the problem for us. For women, these are the women who are very voluptuous when they're in shape. So what's an example of this? Kate Winslet, it would be an example of an endomorph body type. Kim Kardashian would be, they generally have like very wide hips. Even when they're in shape, they might have a flat stomach, but their hips are very wide and generally very, very big boobs. not, I'm gonna. I don't know if that's something to put the explicit sticker on or not. I generally don't like to put the explicit sticker on these ones because I try to keep it family friendly, but I don't know what other way to put it. These are very voluptuous. They're very, very curvy girls, big boobs, big hips, kind of a thing. So that's that general body type. So let's go back through and talk about the best way that you can enhance that and look your best. So with each one of these body types, I'm sure there is some amount of wanting to cut fat and build muscle. Okay. Cut fat, build muscle. You're an ectomorph, cut fat, build muscle. You're a mesomorph, cut fat, build muscle. If you're an endomorph, cut fat, build muscle. So every one of these people are going to benefit from a low carbohydrate diet. That's all there is to it. Because if you're overweight at all, you've screwed your metabolism up, and you need to get your insulin under control. That's how this works. So you want to get your insulin under control, and the best way to get your insulin under control is through a lower carbohydrate diet. However, each one of these are going to be a little bit more liberal on their carbs to a degree. There's going to be a range, in other words. So an endomorph is going to have to lower their carbs more significantly than an ectomorph or a mesomorph. And these ectomorphs and mesomorphs are going to be more easily, they're going to be able to handle a carb load better than an endomorph, unfortunately. So if you're an ectomorph, okay, you are going to be good. These are runners, you're going to be good at that. But I'm going to guess that that's not necessarily what you want to do to look your best. If you're an ectomorph, you're a natural lean pole, I'm not going to say don't ever run, but you're not going to look your best if you're a runner. You can get thin just by running if you're an ectomorph. If you're just an ectomorph and you're just purely looking to lose weight and you're not looking to change your diet at all, if you start running, you're the type of person who will drop weight. Okay. So that whole thing about can you outrun a bad diet? Not 100%, but an ectomorph comes the closest because they just don't put on weight that easily. And if they just kick their metabolism up a tad, they can lose that weight. But you're not going to look good. You're going to look sickly. You're going to look weak. You're going to look like these typical, all these people, all they do is marathon running all the time. They don't look, to me, they don't look healthy. Okay. And I run. I like to run. But there is a problem. If you run all the time, you are not going to look healthy. That's all there is to it. It's just, you're not going to look healthy if you're an ectomorph. Any body type, but particularly ectomorphs, you'll look like you have cancer. Okay, that's what you will look like. So an ectomorph, best for them is to lift heavy and to eat a large carb load around after their workouts. A good book on this is Carb Backloading by Kiefer. If you look that up, that's a great one for these ectomorphs. So they're not having this big dose of carbs all day. They're just carb loading around their workout. That is actually really, really good for them. And that will help them build muscle, because you want to build muscle. You want to get that V shape. You want to lose the fat. You want to lose that front pouch of fat. That's for sure. But you also want to look good. You don't want to look like a cancer survivor. So you need to do a lot more weight training, heavy weight training, more often throughout the week, and then have your carbs around your weight training, and a lot of protein too. And this will help you build that muscle and get that physique. And you guys can actually get pretty defined. You guys can get pretty defined which is nice for you. You can get defined by that kind of a workout. So that's excellent. You want to do that. That's a good thing for you folks to do. Lower your carbohydrates throughout the day, even though you might be able to get away with more. Save them for your workout. And it's still not a great idea to eat a lot of sugar. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. Sugar is not your friend. I'm talking about good, clean carbohydrates like potatoes and things like that. Around your workouts, you're going to be able to get more of that in. So that's the best thing that you can do to thin out and look good. So let's go to the mesomorphs. Now, the mesomorphs, these are the people who I would say these people do better on like a little bit more liberal with carbs, more like a paleo diet, but more with carbs. Because you lose weight easily, and so you might not have to restrict your carbs down to like 50 grams a day or something like that. Like maybe the first 2 weeks, you can do a pretty much even split between cardio and weightlifting, just depending upon your goals, because you can cut weight easily and you can put on muscle easily. You can cut fat easily and put on muscle easily. You're going to do a great job if you do like running or sprinting one day and then weights the next day and kind of alternate that. And you can have a little bit more carbs around your workout. Now you do want to cut your carbs a little bit more than an ectomorph, but you don't have to cut them totally out. You are the type of people who would do best on like just like a natural based diet, like just 100% like a paleo kind of a diet. Although paleo is kind of up in the air, but like if you just went in and you stopped, if you worked out, let's say you ran a half hour one day and you weightlifted another day, and you ran a half hour and you weightlifted and you ran, and you did that, and you worked your muscles and your cardio. If you, instead of eating a Snickers bar, ate an apple, you would probably be fine. Okay. Just because of your body type. That's just the way it works. You guys, that would cut your carbs enough, So you can still eat more carbs as long as they come from cleaner sources. And you still want to have a good amount of protein, and this is an account your macros kind of thing. The first 2 weeks, though, I still recommend with these people, if you have a significant amount of weight to lose, keep your carbohydrate count under 50 of all carbs. Keep it under 50. Okay. So that leads us to, there's not a lot to say about the mesomorphs, because it's like, you guys are like magic. It's almost like anything you do, it kind of works out for you. You want to lose weight, you lose weight. You want to put on muscle, you put on muscle. So, you get that minimal effort. You're just one of these people who have a blessed body type. There's not a whole lot to say other than clean it up a little bit, put a little bit more effort into what you're doing, and you'll get a lot more results. All right. So then that brings us to the endomorph, your Kim Kardashians and your, some of these other, I'm trying to think of a guy who's an endomorph out there. Well, myself, I'm not a star by any stretch of the imagination. So we probably want to do a little bit more cardio than the other two, because we want to lose weight. And by cardio, you could either do steady state cardio or you can do HIIT training. Either one is fine. I know there's controversy out there over the EPOC effect and how much effect it actually has, and your afterburn and all that stuff. Whatever works for you. But we want to be doing more cardio than weightlifting, okay? And the reason why is again, we can put on muscle pretty easily, and we want it to look defined and not just bulky. And we want to rev up our metabolism. So we're the type of people who have to like go on a lower carbohydrate diet. Even natural sources of carbohydrate need to go on lower. Now, in the past, I talked about how I've upped my carbohydrate count in the last little while. And the only reason I can get away with that right now is because I am insanely active. I am insanely active. Now, for most people out there, you are not going to have the active lifestyle that I can afford to have, that I do have. Most people out there, you're going to, you're going to be able to like go to the gym like once a day or something like that. Where, like I go to the gym in the morning, then I work with clients, and even the job that I have, which I only have a couple days a week, I'm on my feet all day. I'm running back and forth, and then I go to the gym and run. Then I go to jujitsu. I mean, I have, I am insanely active. So I can get away with more carbohydrates. I just can. I mean, just and then, but plus I had to go through that being low carb at first. Okay, so if you're insanely active as an endomorph, sorry, you can get away with a little bit more carbohydrates. But if you're not, if you're just one of these people who are regular, you probably want to do cardio at least 3 times a week and do lifting a couple times a week. Now, what I do when I lift is I do like a full body day. Like I do a full body about twice a week. Okay. And so for example, like I'll get on the machine that does, the chest exercise or something like that. And what I will do is I will do a warm-up set, and then I will do to failure 4 times. So it doesn't really matter how heavy it is necessarily, but I will go till failure. So I'm doing the bench press until like I can't do it anymore. Then I'm done. Then I'll do that like 4 times after a warm up. Biceps the same thing, back the same thing, legs the same thing. I don't work the stomach that much because well, I don't need to. I don't need to work the stomach. I don't want my stomach to get big. My stomach's already big. I want to gain weight. I want to gain muscle in other places. Now, the reason why I do this and I go to this is so that it will actually look like I have more of a physique. It will look like I have more of a square. So I want to, I want to bulk in certain places and cut in other places. And so it's easy for me to bulk, but you want to get that defined look and not just a big look. Okay. Not just like a big look. You want to get like a defined look. And that's how I've done it. I do twice a week. I do all my muscles. Okay. So I'll go through every one of them, and I'll normally go through like 3 cycles. So I will do a chest, bicep, shoulders, back, legs. Then I'll do that again. I'll do that like 3 times. And then it takes about maybe half an hour to do that, about maybe even sometimes 20 minutes. And I'll do that twice a week. A couple of times during the week too, I might do like some extra push-ups and stuff like that. Like if I'm going to go out just to get that bulky look. And that kind of gives you the illusion that you're more of a mesomorph than an endomorph. But for us, we really need to cut our weight. So it's hard for us to lose weight. And so that's why I recommend more cardio, more HIIT training, and doing weights like twice a week. Now, if you like weights and you want to do it more often and it's working out for you and you're liking the way you look, that's great. If you want to do 3 times to 2 times, that's great. Or 3 for 3, that's fine too. But I found it best to do a lot more cardio, particularly for us running, because fat kind of melts off you when you run. And I know I'm in a camp of people that kind of poo-poo running. I understand that. I get that. And I hear all their reasons for it. But I tell you what, when I run, I start losing fat. Okay, that's just me. And that's been, and I do both. I also do jujitsu and I also do kickboxing. But when I run, and I try to run like about 3 miles a day, when my body allows it and I'm not messed up from stepping wrong or something like that, I start cutting fat. And that's what I want to do. I want to cut fat. I don't want to just get bulky and then be fat. Okay. And I've seen that too much. You can see those people, kind of people at the gym where they're at the gym and they're bulky, man. They're cut. They're big. They're not cut, but they're big. But they also have big stomachs. These are your typical endomorphs who aren't doing any cardio, or they haven't managed their diet at all either. So for us, we have to go lower on carbohydrates. And like maybe like a cheat meal, like a carb night once a week kind of a thing, and lower even on the natural carbohydrates. Again, if you do a lot of working out, you might go higher, but for the most part, low carbohydrates, unfortunately. And you don't have a hard time putting on muscle, so don't spend a lot of time on that. You want to maintain it, you want to build it to some degree, you want to define it, but you don't want to bulk up. Okay, it doesn't look good, especially if you're going to stay fat. So cardio a couple times a week, cardio most of the week, weightlifting a couple times a week, low carbohydrates. So that's it. That is basically, I would say, that's the idea behind, your body type and what's going to look best and what's going to do best for you and how you're going to look your best. So just like with the ectomorph, they're better at running. They're naturally better at running, but if they don't lift weights, they're going to look like cancer patients. Okay, so for the endomorph, you're better at lifting weights, but if all you do is lift weights and you don't run or you don't do any type of cardio type training, you're just going to look like a big bulky dude with a gut, and you don't want to look that way. I'm trying to talk about the way you're going to look the best, and the way you're going to look the best is shred the fat. You have muscle, shred the fat, and don't build but define. Okay, because we're already kind of naturally big people. I already naturally have a big kind of muscular build. Okay, so I don't want to build. I want to define it out. I want to chisel it out, and that's what I've done, and I look pretty damn good. I think I look pretty good. Most people do too. So I said damn, so I'm gonna have to put the explicit sticker on. So I apologize for that. But anyway, okay, so I guess that's what we're all getting at today for the program. So whatever body type you are, take everything I do, just try it. Take it with a grain of salt. You are your own best coach. You are your own best evaluator of your situation, and always consult a physician. Thank you. This is being Ian Carlin for A Mind for Fitness. If you like what you heard, please share it on your favorite social media, and you can follow us at A Mind for Fitness on Twitter at A Mind for Fitness, and on Facebook, Facebook.com/A Mind for Fitness. And what else? Oh yeah, go buy the book, man. Give us a review in iTunes. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Give us a review in iTunes. Help people find the show. Thanks so much. Until we meet again, please keep your mind on fitness.